Another trade that happened later, a little bit later in the week, was Carson Wentz went to the Commanders, the Washington football team, from the Colts. So where I said the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, what a great deal for both teams, this one I don't think is good for either team. So let's start with the Colts. The Colts had Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, then they had Phillip Rivers for a year, and then they just had Carson Wentz for 1 year. And they got rid of him. The Colts were a really good football team, and in the final 2 weeks of the regular season, they had to win one of the two games against the Raiders or the Jaguars to go to the playoffs. And they actually lost both, and Carson Wentz, the quarterback, played awful. And I think what happened was the owner of the Colts got really butthurt about him playing so bad and said, I want to get rid of this guy. I personally think there's no better options than Carson Wentz for the Colts. So the other options now the Colts can go is they can go Jimmy Garoppolo from the 49ers. And for anyone, again, when I was doing the first recording of this, I was like saying all these quarterback names. I know people aren't familiar. These are just other quarterbacks in the NFL that can now fill in for the Colts. So Jimmy Garoppolo from the 49ers, Mitch Trubisky, who's the backup on the Bills, who people are like giving all this stock to now, or going into the draft. I don't know if any of those options are better than Carson Wentz. The problem with Carson, if you watch his film, is when he's playing great, and this is just from me watching him, he's one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL when he's playing great. He's mobile, he's big, he's got a big arm. I mean, the guy is talented. But when he's not playing great, he's like in the top 4 quarterback or bottom 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. Like horrible decision making. He's trying to be a hero on every play, and it leads to pointless turnovers, and it is not good. So Carson Wentz is like this high and this low. I get why the Colts weren't happy with that, but I don't know what option the Colts have that's better than Carson Wentz. Some people hate him. Just like Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, I personally think Carson Wentz is a pretty damn good quarterback. He has his problems, and I don't know if he can get over them, but I definitely don't think I think he's a starting quarterback. And I don't know what the Colts are going to do now. I mean, if the Colts get Jimmy Garoppolo or Mitch Trubisky, I just don't know if that's better. The Colts are a run-first team. They have a great team around them. So because of that, maybe they think, okay, we can just plug in another quarterback. As long as he doesn't make the stupid decisions, we'll be okay. I personally think the Colts will regret this at the end of next year. We'll look at like the Colts 2022 season, and we'll say, damn, they may have gotten further with Carson Wentz. I mean, they were one game away from being in the playoffs. I know that's not what the Colts had expected. They have a really good team, and they've been rebuilding for a while. They want to be in the playoffs. But I think I don't know. I think the Colts will regret getting rid of Carson Wentz. But now going to the other side of the trade, Carson Wentz went to the Washington Commanders for 2 third-round picks. The Commanders are a very quarterback-needy team. I'm trying to think of another team that reminds me of them a little bit. The Commanders have an absolutely stellar defense. They have a pretty damn good wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. They got a pretty good running back in Gibson, and they got an okay O-line. And they keep thinking, damn, if we can just get a quarterback in here, we're going to be a competitive team. I don't know if Carson Wentz going to the Commanders makes them now a playoff-ready team. Ron Rivera of the Washington Commanders is a defensive coach. He likes to run the ball and have good defense. That's just not Carson Wentz's game. Carson Wentz is let me run the ball, let me throw deep, let me throw 30 to 40 times in a game. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two mesh. Carson Wentz has been in the NFC East before. He was with the Eagles. So now he's coming back. And I don't know. I just don't know if the Washington Commanders are going to get everything out of Wentz that the Colts could have. The Colts head coach has coached Carson Wentz before and knows him. Washington is a conservative team that wants to win through great defense and a good run game. I just don't know if Carson Wentz is the answer there. So, with the Packers and Rodgers, I'm like, no, that's great for both sides. For the Commanders and the Colts, I don't know if moving Wentz is a good move for either. I personally think Wentz will have more mistakes and struggle more with the Washington team, the Commanders, than he did with the Colts. I hope not. I think Wentz is a super talented guy, but he's a quarterback who needs a lot of things in place for him to work. And he wasn't going to get more in place than at the Colts. Having a coach who knows him, who's gotten a lot out of him, having a great run game, having a great offensive line, a great defense, and I don't know if Washington has all of those things as good as the Colts. So this trade happened. I was really shocked. I couldn't believe the Colts moved off him. He was only there for 1 year. I mean, the guy was just getting to know everyone. I guess the final note, too, that comes to mind is Carson Wentz has been criticized for his lack of leadership. The Eagles had a problem with it. It seems the Colts had a problem with it. Going to Washington, where Washington is just known for controversy from the owner down to the players, down to the staff. Carson Wentz is going to love it there because all of his controversies will fit right in with the Commanders. As a Giants fan, I'm not a huge Commanders Washington fan, but I hope the best for Carson. But from what I believe, I just think the Colts and the Washington team both made mistakes. If I was the Colts, I would have kept Wentz another year, give him another year in the system, get more pieces around him. And then also, if I was Washington, I would have drafted a quarterback. Malik Willis looks like an amazing talent. Washington has picks and players to be able to move up. So I would have maybe gone with a Malik Willis, or maybe, bring in someone like a Teddy Bridgewater or a Jimmy Garoppolo, something like that. One other piece, too, is Wentz was very expensive. So I think Washington had like $32 million in open cap space out of their 208. I think Wentz takes up 28 of it. So you have a quarterback who's injury-prone, mistake-prone, and has struggled in the NFL and now has nothing around him that benefits him compared to the team he was on before. He's taking up a bunch of your money. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, like we said last, I was wrong about Dave Gettleman. I could be wrong about the Colts and the Commanders getting rid of Wentz. We'll see, though.